Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back. Today's daf is Menachos Samach Aleph. We begin at the Mishnah, which is partway down the Amriya, around 15 lines from the top. Today's topic is Tenufa. So yesterday we just spoke about Hagasha, which entails taking the mincha within the kli and tapping it to the corner of the Mizbeach. So it's the Darim Ma'arav corner of the Mizbeach. So that's a correction from yesterday. It's not Darim Mizrach, it's Darim Ma'arav, the southwestern corner of the Mizbeach, which is sort of facing the Heichal. That was Hagasha. Today we're going to discuss Tenufa, which is like what you do with the lulav. You wave it back and forth, up and down, to denote that Hashem's the sovereign power, the all-encompassing power, controlling all aspects of creation, the winds, the rains, everything from Hashem, and this is meant to protect us and evoke blessing, bracha, throughout. So in the following Mishnah, we're going to discuss which menachos, which items of karbonos require tenufa. Elu te'unos tenufa, ve'ein te'unos hagasha. The following list of items require tenufa without hagasha. Luk shaman shel metzora v'ashamai. So the metzora brings an asham, an animal carbon with a log shaman, a certain amount of oil comes along, and as we're going to see in the Gemara, they do the tenufa as one package. Rashi brings the pasuk, v'heinif oisam, you meant to package them together in one tenufa. Next on the list is bikurim, first fruit, which according to some shittas require a tenufa. V'abikurim kedivrei, according to the shitta of Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. V'imuri shalma yachid, the fats, the portions which are meant for burning on the mizbeach of a private korban shlamim, that undergoes tenufa as well. V'chazav v'shaik shalahem, the chest area, the shoik, these are parts of the korban shlamim again, which require tenufa. Now the Mishnah points out that tenufa is a requirement, whether it's echad anashim, whether it's a carbon brought by a man, echad nashim, or a woman. Yisrael, v'lei ba'acherim, only with respect to Yisrael and not others. And the Gemara will explain for us what this means. It means like this, that the korban itself requires tenufa, whether it's offered by a man, a woman, even a guy. But in terms of the one who actually does, the one that's physically involved in the tenufa, typically it's the kohen and the owner, that is specific to a male Yisrael. Otherwise, a korban nashim, a korban of a guy, sure, the kohen will perform the tenufa on the korban itself, because the korban, the item, the cheftza, like they say, requires tenufa, but without the involvement of the isha or the guy. We'll see that in the Gemara. Next on the list of items that need tenufa without hagasha, shtei alechem, that's on shvois, ushnei kisat tzera, 2 sheep that come along with them. Keitzad roise, so how does one go about doing a joint tenufa with the sheep and the breads? The answer is noisen shtei alechem al gabe shnei kvasim. He places the 2 breads on the sheep. Uben actually adav lamata, and places his hands beneath this package, and goes back and forth, up and down. A pretty impressive task. Moilechu mevi malu moirid, back and forth, up and down. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, asher hunaf, v'asher huram. So we learned that in the psukim describing tenufa, we have hunaf and huram, and then later on, actually in the previous psukim, we have veinafta oisam tenufa. So actually, it's Rashi explains this, we have a total of 4 expressions relating to tenufa. We have hunaf, we have huram, veinafta, and tenufa, which tells us they meant to go back and forth, up and down. Okay, now where was the tenufa performed? What's the location? Tenufa is mizrach. You can do it even on the eastern portion of the Azar, not only in the western portion, which is near the Heichal, because anything within the Azar is called Lifnei Hashem, as long as it's in the confines of the Azar, not outside the Azar. But Hagasha, as we explained, needs to be done on the western side of the Azara, on that corner of the Mizbeach. Now, in cases where you do Tenufa and Hagasha. Like Menachos, Menachos, which we discussed yesterday. Which one goes first? Tenufa is Kaidnois La Hagasha. So first comes the Tenufa and then the Hagasha. Now Menachos Uminchas Kanois, the Menachos and the Menachos of the Saita require both procedures. Tunois Hagasha Utenufa. Whereas the Lechem Apanim and the Uminchas and Sacham need none. Ein Tunois La Hagasha V'Leitzunufa. Concludes the Mishnah. Let me give you a list of 3 items, 3 types of karbanes, shleisha minin, 3 types of karbanes, which in totality relate to 3 procedures, but really only 2 out of 3 are applicable to each one of these individual items. Shleisha minin, there are 3 types of karbanes, hatu'unin shalish mitzvahs, which are connected to 3 mitzvahs, which require 3 procedures. Shtayim, but only 2 of the 3 apply to each one of these individual 3 karbanis. The third one is not applicable. So again, we have 3 types of karbanis. Each one of these undergo 2 elements of the 3 that we're going to talk about. But there is variety, meaning it's not all consistently the same 2 of 3. Each one of these items will have 2 of the 3. That's the formula. So firstly, what are the 3 karbanis? Zivchei Shalom Yachad, they privately offered shlamim. Zivchei Shalom Tzibah, publicly offered shlamim. That's the 2 sheep on Shavuos with the bread. Thirdly, Vasham Matzir, Asham Matzir. Now the 3 procedures that we're going to talk about is A, the act of Tenufa. B, another type of Tenufa. One is while it's alive. One is after Shechita. And the third point is Smicha, when the owner leans on the animal and does the vidui. So every one of these karbanis will undergo at least 2, right? Will undergo 2 of these 3 procedures, but in different formations. For instance, if Cheshama Yachad, a private shlamim, that needs smicha, tu'unin smicha chayim. You do smicha while it's alive, and tenufa shchutin, and tenufa after the shchita. That's it. Ve'inba and tenufa chayim. There's no tenufa during its lifetime, so it's 2 out of 3. Then you have zivcha shamet tzibur, a publicly offered shlamim. It also has 2 out of 3, but different ones. Tunim tenufa chayim shchutin. There, it has tenufa chay and shachet, but there's no smicha. Ve'inba smicha. Right? There's never a smicha on a typical korban tzibur. And thirdly, v'asham matzir. That needs ton smicha, needs a smicha while it's alive, with tenufa, and also tenufa chay while it's alive. But there is no tenufa of by tenufa shach. Now, how do we perform the tenufa regarding the asham, which has the asham matzir, which has an asham and a lug shemen? Is it together? It's separate? Tanarabban. Asham. So he offers the animals an asham, vestlug hashem, together with the oil. V'heinef oisam. He performs the tenufa together as one tenufa. We learn melamish tu'unin tenufa ke'echad, that the tenufa is performed together as one. It's one package. U'menayin shem heinef zeba atzmai. But zeba atzmai yatsa. What if he does it separately? Is he yaitze? Talmud loymar. Yeah, it works as well. Vikra v'yisai la'asham v'heinef. So although it says vikra v'yisai la'asham vestlug hashem and v'heinef, but since the word vehinef is in singular term, it's lashon yachid, we learn from here, and it relates back to the item immediately before it, which is the lug hashem and vehinef, that if one performs the tenufa separately on the lug hashem and separately on the asham, he has fulfilled the mitzvah. So, fine, you did it. Perhaps you have to redo it together. Yachol yonaf v'yachsav yonaf. Perhaps even if you did it separately, it doesn't ruin it, but perhaps you have to redo it together to fulfill the other obligation as well. It says, tenufa means one time, it's a one-time deal. You do it once, and that's it. So either you do it together properly, or even separately, but done is done. Now the pasuk says that the tenufa is done l'fnei Hashem, before Hashem. We learn, even by Mizrach, even if he chooses to do the tenufa on the Mizrach, which is further removed from the Heichal, it's okay as long as it's in the Azorah. Really? But elsewhere regarding Hagasha, we say that the same Lashon L'fnei Hashem means facing the Heichal, closer to the interior, the place of higher Kedusha, Yachal B'Marav. So the brisa there on Daf Yotes discussed the exact location of the Hagasha, on which corner to the Mizbeach. Perhaps it's meant to be on the western facing wall because of Lefnei Hashem, and the Gemara they concluded, western, southern corner. But clearly the term Lefnei Hashem is assumed as a reference to the western side, Amri. So the Bnei Yeshiva responded. It's all a matter of context. Hanimili mincha dikri chatas. That's certainly applicable to a mincha, which we find in the Torah is also called a chatas. The pasuk calls it kodesh kodesh mika chatas. The chatas to uli yisoid, and we know that the shirayim of the chatas, the leftover blood of the chatas, after the primary applications had been performed, the pasuk says that is meant to be poured. Ve'is kol adam yishpech al yisoid hamizbeach, meant to pour to the yisoid, which is that bottom step, that protrusion which surrounds the mizbeach at the floor. Now, which part of the yisoid? So v'keren droimus mizrachas lahir yisoid. We know from past discussion, the yisoid would not encircle the entire mizbeach. In fact, the Dara Mizrach side had no yisoid because that area belonged to Shevet Yehuda, as we discussed. So regarding the mincha, which is now aligned with the chatas, right, which is compared to the chatas regarding the processing, location, it also has to run along the same track. So, as Rashi points out, the Hagasha takes place el pnei hamizbeach, to the face of the mizbeach. The face is where you enter, where you ascend the mizbeach, where the ramp is, which is darim, which is south. That's called pnei. Now, you have a choice. You can do the Hagasha on that side, but facing the west, or facing the east. Mara, which is closer to the Heichal, or Mizrach, which is further from the Heichal. Let's just get a picture. We walk into the Azara from east going west, facing the the Heichal up ahead, and we confront the Mizbeach. The Mizbeach's entry point, the face, was to my left, Darim. To the right is Tzaf, and to the left is Darim. Now, the immediate corner to my left, which is Darim Mizrach. Darim is the face, and Mizrach is where I'm coming from. This side had no yisoid. That wasn't really suitable for the Hagasha either. Right? So ultimately, you have to do it on the far side, Darim Mara. This way you fulfill Pnei HaMizbeach, which is Darim. Also fulfill Lefnei Hashem, which is closer to the Heichal. So it's inevitable that the Hagasha takes place in that corner. Right? You need Pnei HaMizbeach, which is Darim, and you can't do it on this side, you have to do it on that side. Avalocha, but over here by Tnufa, where Yisoid is not a prerequisite, so anywhere in the Azara constitutes Lefnei Hashem, as long as it's in the area. Lefnei Hashem Kuribbe. The term Hashem, Lefnei Hashem applies anywhere in the Azara, as long as it's not outside. And therefore you can do the Tnufa even in Mizrach. Mishnah adds Bikurim to the list of Tnufa, items that require Tnufa. But the Mishnah points out that we're going according to a very specific opinion. But Bikurim Kedivrei, like the sheet of Relazim Yaakov. Where do we find him? My Relazim Yaakov. This time we have a brayso of Lokach HaKohen, Atenem Yadecha, the Kohen receives the basket of fruit from your hands. Limit, we learn from here, Shetuna Tnufa. He learns that it's not just a matter of taking it, he does the Tnufa as well, as he takes it from you. That's his sheet. My time the Relazim Yaakov. How does he see Tnufa in the pasuk? Gomar Yad Yad Mishlam. He has a Gzera Shava connecting the words Yad Yad from here to Shlam. Here we have the coin take it from your hand, the owner's hand. Where we know there is Tnufa. It says Yodav Taviyan, his hands. He'll bring it with his hands. So it relates to hands. Hence we know that there is Tnufa. Makan, just like by the Tnufa of a Bikurim Kohen. The Kohen does the Tnufa, as it says, V'lokach HaKohen. Right, so he's the one that does it. Aflahal Kohen. Likewise, by the Shlamim, the Kohen has to be involved. Umalahal Balim. Now, just like by the Tnufa of Shlam, the owner is involved as well. It says Yadav Taviyena, the one who brings it, the owner. Afkan Bayan, likewise by the Bikurim of Tanufa, the owner is involved. So it's a joint process. It's a joint effort. Okay, Zed, how do we work this out? So the owner is the one that's holding the material, whether it's the Bikurim or the Shlamim. And the Kohen places his hand beneath, and they do it together as one. Now Taisa explains that actually the owner will he asks a question, what about chatzitza, right? The kohen is not directly holding the basket of bikurim. He's beneath the owner's hands, which are getting in the way. It's a chatzitza. So how does he fulfill bikurim? Right, we learn the bikurim of the tenufa of bikurim from the tenufa of the shlamim, where the pasuk speaks about tenufa. And we learn that in both cases, tenufa is done, but it's a joint effort with the owner and the kohen holding it simultaneously. What about chatzitza, says Taisus? How could the kohen perform tenufa in this manner when he's not really holding the material? So he says three answers Taisus gives. First of all, chatzitza is not a concern because the primary tenufa performer is the owner. The kohen is just sort of an add-on. Secondly, he says that perhaps there's no chatzitza because we're speaking that the owner is holding the, in the case of the bikurim, he's holding the basket, and the kohen is directly holding the basket beneath. So the owner is holding it from the side, and the kohen beneath. Third teretz, he says, is look, that's what the Torah directed to do. It's right. That's not a chatzitza. Torah determined this is the way to do it. It's a joint effort. So together as one does not really pose a chatzitza. Now the question is, why are we associating the tenufa of a bikurim specifically to Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov? Rabbi Yehuda, says the Gemara. We can attribute it to Rabbi Yehuda as well. The son of Rabbi Yehuda Aimer, bikurim undergoes tenufa, the sanya. It says v'inachtu l'fnei Hashem elekecha. So that's a pasuk later. Right, first it says we give it to the kohen, etc. Then it says v'inachtoi, place it l'fnei Hashem elekecha. What's v'inachtoi? Place it. Zutnufa, it's referring to the act of tnufa, the waving back and forth. Ato imer zutnufa. You're claiming that this is referring to tnufa. Who says? Oh yeah, hanacha. Perhaps it's simply saying place it near the mizbeach. That's all. But we have another pasuk which says that the kohen takes it v'nicha and he places it. So it's placed already. Hari hanacha amar. Hanacha has already been discussed. Why does it repeat? Place it. It's talking about the tenufa, zutnufa. So why do we pick Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov as the one that promotes tenufa by bikurim? We find the same with Rabbi Yehuda. Amar Rav, I'll tell you why. You're right. They're both on the same page regarding tenufa. We chose Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov because his source, Amar Rav Hoylo pasach be'akasav tchil. His source is based on the earlier pasuk. According to Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, that's referring to tenufa. Versus Rabbi Yehuda's source, which is later, that's why we sort of latched onto that as our primary reference. Amar, I'll tell you why we chose Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov. Rav Guvrei, his power is great, which means to say he was a greater scholar. Rashi brings Gemara and Erevin. Mishnas, Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov Kavanoki. His halachas were generally very, sparse, very few. But it was naki, it was clear, it was authoritative, it was accepted. So we went with that shita as our reference point. But in reality, Rabbi Yehuda agrees as well. Now the Mishnah spoke about the various items that need tenufa, and we have this statement which sounds a bit cryptic. So we're speaking about the parts of a korban shlamim. Who's the bringer? Who's the owner? Echad hanoshim, men. Echad hanoshim, or women. Be Yisrael aval ba'achirim. But only Yisrael and not by others. What does this mean? Michael Amar, what does this mean? First we're saying that everybody's involved. And then we say, no, it's only by certain. Amar v'damar achika Amar, the Mishnah means like this. Look. There's a difference between the korban itself, which always requires tenufa, whether it's brought by a man, a woman, or even a guy, lahavla. But in terms of the owner's involvement, as we explained before, the owner personally gets involved. That's specific to a man, Ish Yisrael. As opposed to an Isha, a guy, they're not personally involved. The carbon is waived by the kohen, but the owner in that case is not involved. Amar Vida, the mission means like this. In terms of the carbon, it requires tenufa regardless of the owner. But personal involvement with tenufa atzma, Yisrael only can be done by Yisrael, as opposed to women. And in a minute we'll see the same thing regarding the Yavdi Kechab. We have a pasuk Bnei Yisrael. The pasuk relates tenufa to Bnei Yisrael. We learn Bnei Yisrael manifin. Only a yid, not a guy. Bnei Yisrael manifin, only these acharim in Yisrael do tenufa, but not the inoshim. Ben inoshim manifais. Amar B'Yosi. Matzinu shecholak hakasef. Bein karban Yisrael, the karban Avd Gechavim, the karban Hashem is smicha. Find an interesting distinction. When it comes to smicha, the pasuk clearly stipulates it only belongs to a karban of a Yisrael, not a woman, not an Isha. There's no smicha in those cases. What happens by tenufa? Do we suspend the tenufa by a karban Isha, a karban of a guy? There's no tenufa at all? Perhaps we make the same distinction by tenufa as well? No, the answer is no. When it comes to tenufa, we still proceed with the tenufa, although in terms of who does it, it's different than a karban Yisrael, where the owner does it, by the Goya, by the Isha, the Kohen does it. The answer is no. You understand why by smicha we differentiate, which means to say that only a karban of Yisrael requires smicha at all, but not the karban of an Isha or a Goy. Because smicha must be performed by its owner. And since the Isha or the Goy are not enabled for smicha, there is no smicha at all, period. As opposed to nachal with tenufa, do you want to apply the same distinction by tenufa, shatnufa, b'kahanim? A tenufa is done by the kohen as well. Right? And Rashi says you can do it with through the kohen. The kohen sort of will represent the owner in this case. And therefore, certainly tenufa can be performed, even on a karban of Isha or Goy. So why is the pasuk stipulate Bnei Yisrael? The answer is, in terms of physical involvement, Bnei Yisrael manifin, only the owner, who's a Yisrael, can do tenufa himself, as opposed to the other ones. As opposed to the Goy. Bnei Yisrael manifin, Bnei Nosha manifin, as opposed to the Isha. So in these cases, the Kohen will do it on their behalf. Tani, we find another brayso regarding tenufa, Bnei Yisrael. Right, the pasuk says, Dabar Bnei Yisrael, right? Do the tenufa. Ein el Yisrael, perhaps only an original Yisrael. What about a convert? Gerim, Bavadim Mishuchrar, released, freed a slave, who also has the status of Yisrael. Minayin, what about tenufa for their karbanos? Tamar Leima comes the extra pasuk and says, Hamakrev. Anybody who offers even a ger, Eved Mishuchrar. Well, says the Gemara, Hamakriv, perhaps it's coming to tell us something else. Perhaps the point of the pasuk is to say that only the kohen can do the tenufa in these cases, not the actual ger or the Eved Meshuchra. The answer is Kshu Aimar Yadav Taviyena Hari Baalam Amar. When the pasuk says Yadav Taviyena, we already know that the owner does it. So any owner, the Farshim explained, means to say any owner, on the other of any owner, whether it's a ger, eved, meshucher, we include them as well. So you can't rule out these owners, but at the end of the day, we see that the owner is involved, and also the kohen. Hamakriv is the kohen. So how do we do this joint effort? Like we explained before, Ketzad, how do we do this joint tenufa? They do it together simultaneously. Right? The kohen places his hands under the owner's hands, and they do the tenufa. Ketzad. So how exactly do we do the actual tenufa? So let's just visualize it. So now we're back to the shlamim. We take the emurin and place it on the palm of his hand, and the chazav hashoik, that's placed over the emurin, and they do this the tenufa. And the Gemara will continue. We'll discuss different cases of tenufa, specifically the one we do on Shavuos with the 2 breads and 2 kvasim. Perhaps we'll pick it up Bez Hashem tomorrow. So we have a Mishnah which discusses primarily the Indian of tenufa, which korbanos require tenufa. We discussed the joint lug and asham tenufa by the Mitzvah. Ideally it's done together. If it's done separately it works as well. The Korah needs tenufa according to 2 opinions. Typically the owner and the kohen do a joint tenufa, but that's only by Bnei Yisrael, but not by the Nashim and the Yad Kechavim, where in those cases it's performed exclusively by the kohen himself. All the best to you and Atzlach.